The plan was to go to the Mega Cave to do a tram tour, but unfortunately when we were about 30 minutes away, they sent a text and said it's canceled because they had no power. So we had to find something to do on the fly. So we decided to go to the Derby Museum. Don't really know much about horse racing other than the Derby is held in Kentucky and people wear fancy clothes and hats. Parking was free, but it was a specialized area that you had to park.
Visit our ticket office. Please note the ticket office does not accept ticket drop-offs for will call.
Is it over here?
And no refunds for today's event. Please switch up to our
It was around $24 per person to get into the museum. Pretty hats. Bob Evans, CEO.
Jessica was here.
So it's like, hey, this is how you start the race, see how it start, and then it also familiarizes you with the game. Because then it's like, okay, well, you've already seen this once.
We're all
Let's
going
start
together. We don't have to hold on each other fast.
What?
Like this.
As they move toward the top of the stretch.
That's really pretty.
It was a good start for Goodyear, like I was expecting to set them off.
There you go, Phillies.
This is the Great Hall, and inside they had the stools, and you could spin around and view the screen 360 degrees.
So I got the spinny seat so you can just go all the way around.
Yeah. They had a short film playing that explained more about the Derby and how everybody gets ready for the race. The ticket did include a little tour of the stadium that led to the track.
We'll stop over here for a bit. If I can ask you guys to move down just a little bit because I know there'll be a few cars coming in and out. In fact, we just held the 152nd running of the Kentucky Derby just a couple weeks back. Now guys, I'd like to start you guys off with a little bit of the history of the grounds and how we got started. Now how we got started was all the way back in the 1870s. There was this guy that lived here by the name of Meriwether Lewis Clark Jr. He was actually the grandson of the famous Clark from the Lewis and Clark expedition. Now Meriwether Lewis Clark Jr., he lived here in Louisville, and around the 1870s he decided to take a trip with his wife to Europe. So over there they visited France, they visited England, and they took a lot of interest in all the horse racing that was going on over there at the time. The Louisville Jockey Club. We didn't officially become Churchill Downs until much later. Now, the first Kentucky Derby was held here on May 17, 1875, and the first horse to win was a horse by the name of Aristides, who was ridden by the African-American jockey Oliver Lewis. In fact, in the early years of the Kentucky Derby, most jockeys were African-American, and most jockeys that won the early years were African-American jockeys. Now, the first Kentucky Derby opened with much success and fanfare, and had in attendance about 10,000 people. That was actually the largest gathering of people in Kentucky state history at the time for a horse race. So we continued to see much success throughout our early years, and we've actually never missed a single Kentucky Derby since the original. We're the most consecutively held sporting event in the United States, so we've held 152 Kentucky Derbies here at Churchill Downs. Guys, on our way over, you might notice this wall right here. Now this is our post-position winner's wall. It shows you how many times the horse has won from each gate in the Kentucky Derby. In the Kentucky Derby, we're going to have 20 horses in the race, and the position in the starting gate is randomly drawn a week before the start of the race. So it's up to chance where a horse is going to start. We're going to start heading on down this way. All the way around, and it's actually 25 feet deep into the ground. People that originally built this place were absolutely afraid anything would happen to the track. Like it'd be washed away on a wet day like today. So they made sure that the track was going to be built to last. Seemed that worked because that's still the same track that we're using today. So the track itself is a mile all the way around, but depending on the races are going to be held at different lengths. For instance, the Kentucky Derby is going to be a 1.25 mile long race. Now you guys might notice these poles across the track. Now the poles measure distance. For instance, to your far left-hand side of the track, you'll notice a red and white pole down there with a golden ball. So that's what we call a quarter pole. And like the name implies, it denotes every quarter mile. And then on the opposite side of the track, you'll notice a white pole with a golden ball. So that is also a quarter pole, but it doubles as the finish line for all the races held on the dirt track. So they all finish down there, but depending on the length of each race, they'll start at different spots. For instance, the Kentucky Derby is going to start in front of that red and white quarter pole down there. So that's where they'll set up the starting gate. Once all the horses are in the starting gate, they'll be let out. Then they run all the way around the track, past the red and white quarter pole, keep on going until they hit that white finish line, finishing the race and making it a 1.25 miles. But we actually have two racetracks here at Churchill Downs. We've got the dirt track in front, and then behind the dirt track, behind that white railing, we have our turf track. Now, turf track just means grass track. And the reason why we got it out there is some horses prefer to race on dirt, some horses they prefer the grass. But here in America, most of our horses are bred and trained for the dirt specifically. So most of our races, including the Kentucky Derby, they're going to be on the dirt track. Now guys, believe it or not, we'll actually hold more races here at Churchill Downs than the Kentucky Derby. In fact, we're going to hold about 750 races throughout the entire year here. Even on Derby Day, the first Saturday in May, we have 14 races, and the Derby is going to be the 12th race of the day. We're actually racing today too. First race of the day is going to start at about 12:45 today, and we'll have about 11 races up until about 6 o'clock. Now most of the races are going to be on the dirt. Only about 20% of the races will be held on the grass track. And further down you might notice a white building with a flagpole on top of it. So that's what we call our Bugler's Pagoda. And before the start of every single race, our bugler, Steve Butland, will come out from there and he'll perform the call to the post. So that's like the sign, the tune for the horses to come onto the racetrack and prepare for the next race. And it goes, a little bit something like this. Right? Or at least something like that. On the ground, there's a red bed of flowers in the shape of a horseshoe. So that is actually the winner's circle for the Kentucky Derby. And only the winner of the Kentucky Derby is allowed in that winner's circle. So once that horse wins, they'll lift up the railing right there, they'll walk into the circle, and then the horse is going to be draped with a garland of roses or a blanket of roses. And then behind that white fence right there, the owner of that horse will be presented a solid gold trophy by the governor of the state of Kentucky. Guys, right now we're standing in the grandstand, and this is actually the largest grandstand in North America for horse racing. At max capacity, we can fit about 70,000 people up here. But on Derby Day, we're going to have a lot more than that. Typically, we're going to have about 150,000 people to 170,000 people. So where do the rest of the people go? Well, most of them are going to go in between the track to what we call the infield. So we actually have 3 tunnels that go underneath the tracks into the infield. On Derby Day, that's where we're going to sell general admission tickets. And on Derby Day, we won't stop selling general admission tickets. So typically we're going to have about 80,000 to 100,000 people out there in the middle. And most of them, they don't care if they see a horse all day. Yep, because most of them are here for one big giant party. Because that's what the infield is, the party zone. But guys, one of the last things I want to point out to you guys is all the way on the other side of the track, you might notice a couple long green roof buildings back there. So those are actually our backside barns where the horses are kept. We get about 47 barns back there in total. And at max capacity, we can fit about 1,400 horses back there.
Aww.
Alright, that'll make it yours, Val.
Okay, let's go. I wasn't the one who wanted to come here anyway.
Okay.
They do have a cafe and bar on site that you can eat at or drink at. I decided to try the Kentucky Hot Brown, and I got the loaded fries to go with that. I didn't think it was the greatest, so I'm just not sure. Maybe somewhere else might taste better. There is an upstairs portion of the museum as well. It's the top of the Great Hall where we were.
Yeah, you can't really watch it from here.
History of horseshoeing. There's a lot.
The farrier gets the hoof once over with the rest, smoothing out the uneven spots and giving the hoof a nice clean finish.
stop competing after they're 5. But they can live to be 30. That's a long time. In this race, they have to be 3. No younger, no older. 3. That's just sad that they even had to have something like this. I love my pets. So this was the first electric gate that was ever used here. Possibly the oldest starting gate in existence. You can kind of walk through, see. I didn't show every aspect of the museum, but hopefully if you get a chance you can come out and see it for yourself. I did learn quite a bit about the Derby, like how the horses only can race when they're 3 years old. I didn't know that. And I learned a couple other things too that I didn't really know. So it was all in all a good learning experience. I did know a few things about horses. I went to Girl Scout camp when I was a kid, and I learned how to put the saddle on and their bridle and bit in their mouth and how to groom them and things like that and how to ride. But I didn't really know much about racing. And of course, exit out the gift shop. The upstairs portion did also have a cool photo op.